Hi, I wanted to talk to you about the concept of stewardship. Now, rest assured, there's nothing religious in the meaning of that word for me. So, even though that concept or that term is used with religious connotations by some people, that's not what I'm going to talk about here. The concept of stewardship, as I see it, is the one where you take care of your possessions in a way that you ensure they reach the next generation. Now, that is a shift from the concept of possession. I talked about the concept of possession and the right attitude towards your possessions in a previous video, I think a couple of years ago. But I wanted to develop that further and to talk to you about an even bigger shift in the way you see the things that you have, because I'd like you to look at them not as possessions, but as responsibilities. And that's where the concept of stewardship comes in. What do I mean by that? Let me give you a few examples. I love our house. Our house, for example, is over 200 years old. It's an old Saxon house in the heart of Transylvania. And even though when I was a bit younger, I tended to look at it as a possession, I realized as time went on, and as I had to put in a lot of work to maintain it, to take care of it, that the way I looked at it was wrong. It was not my possession. It was entrusted to me, to my stewardship for the next generation. And it's a hard concept to grasp if you look at it in terms of money alone. Sure, I paid for the house, I paid for the repairs, I even did a lot of the repairs myself. And so it's easy to say, to attach a possessive pronoun to the house and say it's my house, my repairs, it's my work. Sure, it was your work that went in, it was your money that went in. But this house has been around for 200 years, and chances are it's going to be around for 200 more if it's going to be taken care of. And therefore the concept of ownership per se doesn't really apply here, does it? It's not my house. It's been entrusted to my care. I am its steward for the duration of my lifetime, and it is my responsibility to ensure that I leave it in good hands, the hands of my daughter, for example, and that I take care of it so that it stands another 200 years. So you see, it's no longer a possession. It's a responsibility, and I've become its steward. And you'll find that this is not a new concept that I'm talking to you about. You'll find that if you talk to owners of old houses, of castles even, you'll find that they also see themselves as the stewards of those places. It's hard to understand if you live in rental units or in apartments, even new apartments, but older buildings take on a life of their own. The older they get, the more love and the more effort that goes into their maintenance, their care, the more character they gain, and they truly take on a life of their own, in the sense that when you walk in, you can, if you're in tune with those kinds of things, you can sense the house itself. It's as if it's talking to you. And I'm not talking here about ghosts, apparitions, things like that. By the way, there are no ghosts in my house. Well, maybe one of my cats haunts it. Who knows? We like to think so. One of our cats, beloved cats who died, Sasha, we buried her in the garden, and she died in our arms. And we like to think that she haunts the house, but in a good way, So we like to imagine her walking the house at night. But that's just our imagination. So anyway, you can sense the house when you walk into an old place, and you can sense all the love and all the care that has gone into it over the hundreds of years that it's been into existence. And I think people that live in places that are thousands of years old are truly blessed, because generations and generations of people have lived in those places, and they've invested their livelihoods and their time and their money and their love and their care into making sure those places stuck around. So I've talked about my house, right? Or the concept of the house. Let's talk a bit about an even greater shift in the concept of possession, and that is in relationships. Let me check and make sure this is still recording, because, yeah, good. Now, I've had nasty surprises in the past where technology didn't really serve me, made my life more difficult. And that's a funny way to hear from somebody who's made a living in IT, because I have. But it's true, you can't really trust it. You have to check on it. But let's get back to this video. So the concept of relationships. I look at my wife, and I'm very careful when I say my wife, because I don't refer to her as my wife. I'm not a chauvinist pig, and I like to think that we as a society, by and large, have gone past the way of thinking that used to dominate the thinking of men in the past, where they really thought of their wives as possessions. And I like to think we've gone past that idiotic concept to the point where we now see our spouses as our equals. So when I say my wife, I don't mean she's my wife, but she's the woman that chooses to spend her life with me. And of course, she's not bound to do that. She does it out of love. And she's free to leave me at any time if she decides that I no longer am a good husband. And I'm okay with that. And so, because I want her to stick around, I choose to look at my relationship with her not in the way of a possession, but a relationship of stewardship, where I am the steward of the love that is between us, just as she is the steward of the love that is between us. It takes two in a relationship, of course. And so, when you look at the relationship like that, you begin to sense a lot more that there needs to be respect there. There needs to be a sense of personal freedom and latitude in decision making that you have to leave to the other person. And I think it sets a relationship in the right light. And also when you look at the relationship in terms of stewardship, you start to look at it as more of a long-term thing. And I certainly want my relationship with my wife to last a lifetime, because I truly appreciate her, and I know how much she does for me and she's done for me. And not because she had to, because out of love for me, she did those things. And so I really want that to last a lifetime. And so I realized that I have to take care of that relationship. And once again, that's where the concept of stewardship, of caretaking, comes in. I have to really invest time and love into that relationship to ensure that it lasts. And if we extend that even a little further, I look at the relationship with my daughter, again, from the point of view of stewardship. Because, of course, my relationship with my daughter will last longer than my relationship with my wife, or at least it's supposed to, because, of course, my daughter is younger than my wife, so she's going to be around a lot longer than my wife. So God forbid, although it's going to happen at some point, one of us dies, I have to treat the relationship with my daughter in a way that it ensures that she'll want to stick around and take care of the one who remains, that she won't be pushed away. So again, you have to look at it from that point of view. You have to take the long view, the long approach, and think about the stewardship once again. And And now we come back to the more usual things, such as, furniture, clothes, cars, watches, because I am a watch collector. Once again here, you have to, or I have to, I've chosen to look at them from the point of view of stewardship. Because as I talked in my video about possessions, I choose to buy only quality things. And what that means is that I'm not going to buy cheap things that are only going to last a year or two. I'm going to buy things that are going to last at least my lifetime, if not more. And so when I look at my furniture, I have pieces of furniture here in my house that have been around for 100 years, some even 200 years. And they're going to be around for longer than that if I have my way, because I am their steward and I have had them restored properly, and I have ensured that they're going to last at least my lifetime. It's the same with my clothes. I have clothes that I've had for 20 years or more, and I plan to have them for the duration of my lifetime. And when I make new clothes, or when I buy new clothes, I always buy them with an eye for duration. How long are they going to last? This is why I don't go into trends. This is, excuse me. And this is why I don't buy clothes that are trendy and that are going to go out of fashion in a few years. I refuse to spend my money that way. And so, let's talk a bit about watches. I have watches that have been around for more than 100 years. Every watch that I purchase goes to a very good watchmaker who services it and does his job to make sure that the watch is going to keep on working. And then I do my part as the steward of each watch that I acquire to make sure that it lasts a long time. For the same reason. My cars, give you one example. I have a Mini Cooper S that I bought in 2003, and I bought it to my exact specifications, and I've had that car since then, and it's in great shape, and I take care of it because I never saw it as a car that I bought to have for a few years and then sell. I saw it as a car that I would have for a lifetime. So that's the way I'm treating it. Now, let's talk about something that perhaps people don't see as stewardship. Certainly in this day and age with all these startups, where people are most concerned about starting a business that's going to make them a lot of money and then getting rid of it. I don't see things that way. I like very much the concept of businesses that are passed down from generation to generation. And we have a company here in Romania that my wife and I started, and I very much would like to pass it down to my daughter. And so we are treating it that way. We're not looking at it as something that is here just to make us money now and we're going to get rid of it later. We're looking at it as a long-term investment. And I see fewer and fewer people that look at their businesses that way. Most of them look at them as assets that they can sell off if they choose to. But I would very much like to be a good steward to my business and to take care of it in such a way that it survives the various economic tides, and that I pass it down to my daughter, because I very much like durability and stability in business. I dislike very much all of these economic machinations. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word, but I dislike them very much, where governments click with certain individuals, wealthy individuals, manipulate the economies of countries for short-term gain. I very much dislike that, and I would very much prefer for governments to see themselves as the proper stewards of their countries and to ensure stability, economic, political, legislative, financial. I've repeated myself, but you know what I'm saying, right? I would very much like to see periods of long stability return to the government of countries. Now, I'm going to say just a couple more things, maybe one more thing, and then I'm going to close this video because it's gone on for long enough. Let me just check. Okay, 13 minutes. We'll see when I edit it how oh, it's not, it's 19 minutes. I'll try to edit it down to 15. I apologize, but by now you know that I make long videos. Now, the last thing that I want to say is there's this trend nowadays for people to get rid of their stuff. And while I applaud getting rid of stuff that's needless, stuff that you don't use, I want you to shift your thinking a little bit, in that direction. Get rid of stuff that you don't use. It's perfectly fine. Give it to someone else who maybe will use it. But the things that you do use, once again, don't think of them as possessions. Think of them as your responsibilities. Become their steward. And so the things that you do have, really take care of them. Treasure them. Buy only quality things. And I want you, and here's the part that I want you to pay attention to. Don't buy something unless you are willing to assume the responsibility for taking care of it. Do you understand what I'm saying here? If you're not willing to assume the responsibility of stewardship for that thing, then you don't care enough about it. It's not going to be of value to you. Don't purchase it. If you don't understand fully what I've just said, perhaps go back through my video and listen to it again. But it's a very important concept because it's going to do away with a lot of the trash that we generate nowadays as societies, as people. Ultimately, I want you to realize this. We are the stewards of this planet. By virtue of the fact that we are the dominant race, and we have the potential for causing the most good and the most evil to this planet, we are its stewards. And so we have to, every single one of us, don't leave it up to the governments because they're full of people who don't give a shit, right? They only care about lining their pockets instead of caring about their countries. Don't leave it up to the governments. Each and every single one of us have to take the long view when it comes to, people find the oddest times to send me messages. But don't, right? Take the long view with everything that you do. Think of yourself as a steward of the planet. If each one of us, or at least the majority of us, started to think that way, our planet would be much better off. And so ultimately, I want you to get to the point where that's your view of the planet. We are all interconnected. We are all stewards of not only our things, but the planet. And we have to take care of it in such a way that we can leave it to future generations. So I know that I've talked about a lot in this video, and it was a lot to take in, but I hope that it has reached you here. That's where it needs to reach you, in your heart. And I hope that you have gained a bit more insight from this video. Thank you for watching this long video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.